We can both do it. I'm trying to take attendance now, the
You
first
take
time.
it, but you take attendance tonight and I'll draft the minutes. How's that? And I'll send them to you tomorrow for editing.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Maybe wait a couple more minutes. People are coming in.
Sounds good.
Hi, Beverly. Hi, everybody.
How many are on steering? How do we know when there's a quorum?
Usually I reference the website. It has the most up to date, although I think this month we may not be fully on par as there's been some shifting and everything, but I think it should be up to date.
Okay.
Maybe one more minute. I think that's got to be a quorum.
Am I still included as co-chair of BCI until the end of the month? Because that would
Yes.
contribute to
Yes.
the, okay, so you should, okay.
Yeah, through November 1st.
We have a quorum.
Good. Okay. Welcome, everyone. I have a lot of announcements, more than probably I will ever have again. But this is the first steering committee I am chairing. First, I would like to welcome our new member of the board, Alex Bell, who has just been appointed by the borough president and is with us tonight. And I would like to ask him to unmute and introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'm Alex Bell. Super excited to be here. Long time Upper West Sider. Grew up on 86th Street, 545 West End Avenue, and was at 92nd Street. I went to the Calhoun School. So lived in this area absolutely my entire life. I live on 89th Street in West End now. Super excited to be here. I'm a software engineering manager at Facebook. So I've always been in the engineering space, and also brand new father. I have a daughter, 2.5 years old, who goes to Bright Horizons, also on 89th Street. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Always been an Upper West Sider, and yeah, super excited to be here with everyone.
Thank you, Alex. We're happy to have you. I would also like to notice a number of co-chair appointments that have been made. There are more that we'll get to down the road, but I just would like to let folks know the focus of our efforts to staff our co-chair positions has been to convince some of our newer members that those positions are a good way to learn about the board and over time to become our next experts, as some of us older folks over time will face term limits. So Ben Wu, who had been at land use at his request, is moving to be co-chair of BCI, replacing Linda, who has been elected co-secretary. Backfilling him at land use is Kevin Corte, who is a planner by profession and was an excellent fit for that role. Anthony Thomas will be co-chair of Budget and Strategy. We hadn't had such a position before, but that was largely because de facto I was in that role, and I am no longer able to do that work. So I think we do need a co-chair in Budget and Strategy to pick up some of the slack. Anthony then Kristen Berger is moving to YEL. Blanche is term limited, and I'm working with her on some alternative ways in which she will contribute to the board. And Kristen has been a longtime YEL member and made a lot of contributions there. For Parks, replacing Barbara, who was elected as a secretary, I've asked Susan Schwartz to be co-chair there. So those are the ones that we've determined, and I ask you to support them in their new roles. Also, with Barbara and Linda taking on the role of secretary, I've also asked them to be advisory to the co-chairs on minutes and attendance and ways in which we can make our minutes much tighter and shorter and less full of actual quotations and much more summary as per the guides they can give. And they've agreed to do that. I do want to talk a little about hybrid meetings. We have not yet gotten any further information on whether November will be a continuation of the ability to use Zoom as we have now. And I know Elizabeth will talk more about this in her update on the in-person and remote task force. But I did want to give a kind of quick view of if we are faced on November 1st with our full board meeting and it needs to be in person, how we will actually face that when we come to it. First of all, Kay has very kindly offered the space of his church, and we were really grateful for that. We do understand from the borough president that we are able to require masks, and we are able to limit the number of people in the public who attend. What I am suggesting, because this leaves the chair people who are running meetings, whether it's at the committee level or the full board level, with the quandary of if they're getting requests for remote attendance, how do they evaluate that in light also of the need to get a quorum? So I've been working with the office to develop an almost an RSVP form that would go out some days before the meeting and ask members of that committee or full board to let us know what their plans are. The default setting should be that you're attending in person, but if you want to make the case for the fact that you would attend remotely and be able to vote, then you need to make that clear on the form. So with this information a few days ahead, that allows a board member chairing a meeting to figure out how generous to be in terms of granting exemptions from in-person attendance, and where they may need to pick up the phone and get additional folks to attend in person. I would hope that if we are in that position at the beginning of November, committee meetings would follow a similar system, that we would provide those same kinds of forms to the committee co-chairs and ask them to take over the task of determining who might get remote attendance and who might not. So that is that. I would like to propose a slight change, or maybe it's going back to something you used to do years ago in the agenda for the full board. I would like to start with a public session, perhaps time limited to 30 minutes. And if you have comments about that, please feel free to email me and Max and let us know what your concerns would be. It's just that in recent months, we've frequently had meetings where the public has not had an opportunity to speak until 10 o'clock or 10:30. And that is extremely discouraging to public content. And we very much want to increase the attendance at our meetings, not decrease it. Since something will have to give if we do that, I've also asked, I've had a good long meeting with Will and with Polly regarding their task force. And we're hoping in the next month or two to come back with a plan for how that is going to operate in the future. And I would like to put the public safety session on hiatus for a couple months and then incorporate it into the plans that Polly and Will come back to us with. I think that would be a better way than spending the first hour or so of our meeting frequently on a public safety session that may be repetitive of the meetings that the NYPD hold at the precinct level with the public. So we'll try that. We'll see if it works, and we'll see if it meets people's wishes and not put it in stone at this point, but it will be an experiment. I would like to get 2 volunteers, one a newer member and one a more senior member, to assist with setting up a leadership development plan based on some outreach I did over the summer with some of our newer members who felt that having more organized support would be better. And if you're interested in that, please email me. I don't want to spend time, getting folks to volunteer, right now in the meeting. I'd also like to just ask for a little bit of thoughtfulness in terms of board member communications with the office staff. They've frequently become excessive. Obviously, the staff is there to help you and to deal with issues and to support you as you need it. But sometimes the conversations have been so long that our staff is working deep into the night to get their regular work done. And that really isn't fair to them. So just please be mindful that that's an issue. Finally, the executive committee will be meeting next week in an executive session regarding the events of our last full board meeting. And we'll be making a determination that will be up for board vote at our November meeting. And following a process that is outlined in our bylaws. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Max for his DM report.
Thanks, Beverly. And I will try to keep it brief, although I do have a few things to quickly go over. One, I just want to reiterate my own support for the public session at the beginning. Our offices fielded a lot of requests from the public about, or complaints rather, oh, we don't get to talk and this, that, and the third. We wait all night and then we're only heard for a moment. And I think this will go a long way in helping to resolve that. Let's see. Beverly mostly covered it, but it's true we are waiting for further guidance about the OML extension. Typically, I know a lot of people have been reaching out and asking me, but typically they only let us know just a couple days before the slated expiration of whatever the present one is. So because that is next week and early next week, hopefully by Friday, that seems to be the pattern that happens. So I'm expecting it on Friday, but I will obviously distribute it to everyone as soon as I hear. Just to add on a little bit more about Kay's church, in case we are there for full board. I believe, and Kay, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe their actual technical capacity is 900. They'd have to add chairs and this, that, and the third, but it seems we will have more than adequate space. And I've been there personally and walked around the space too, and it's beyond sufficient. As I said, or as Beverly said, actually, we will be able to require masks. That's something that the BP's office provided us guidance on. And we do have a fairly ample supply of masks and hand sanitizer as well, provided to us by the council member. And we will be sending around an RSVP. I'll send a draft of that, I think, on Friday, just so people can sort of get an idea of what it looks like. It'll be very simple. And you'll either be able to click, I'm attending in person, I'm not attending at all, or I'm seeking a bylaws-based exemption. And as Beverly said, the expectation is that you will be there in person, and we'll work individually with you on the bylaws-based exemption. Moving to board office safety measures, because we've also gotten a few questions about that lately. I'd like to clarify the protocol, what CB7 did last year, prior to me arriving here, actually. CB7 worked with Go Green Air to install new UV filters and conducted a thorough cleaning. And it's thought that these, or at least the thinking at the time, is that these UV filters would help go a long way in removing potential COVID in the space. And we're now on a twice annual monthly contract with Go Green Air to continue to service these things. In addition, a takeaway from Elizabeth's task force a couple of weeks ago was the need for a CO2 meter. I've been working with Ken Coughlin about getting one, and it looks like we're going to be able to get what he's recommended as the Aranet 4, and it's not going to really impact our budget, but it is the one that was recommended during that meeting. Let's see. The last part of this is we will be limiting capacity for our in-person meetings at the office to about 25 people for now, at least as we just start to gain a sense of how these things are going to play out in actuality. And we'll have some waiting room in the hallway, as you guys know that space a little bit, and some overflow in my office and Jesse's office as well. And again, we will be able to require masks. My last update is very brief, and that's a staffing and personnel update. Ashley's final day with us is going to be October 28th. And in consultation with Beverly, we've convened a personnel committee, including Doug and Seema, and I'm not sure if there's others that are going to be joining, and they'll be interviewing some of the candidates that I'm bringing to them. And I think that's it for my meetings, and I'd like to hand it back to Beverly. Oh, actually, no, there is one other thing I'd like to say. We may be switching to a new protocol for full board meetings and other meetings as well, where this is more similar to how we conducted it at my former community board. Panelists will no longer be able to unmute and mute themselves. Rather, you'll be subjected to having to raise your hand, and then I or someone from the team here will unmute you. And we think that may go a little, we just think it's appropriate at this time, and we're going to test that out at full board, I believe. And now back to Beverly.
Okay, we need to have our chair reports. Land use did not meet this month, and also Richard is not here. He had another place he had to be, and the meeting was rescheduled, so he had not planned on it. So can we go to transportation?
Sure. We had a really wide-ranging meeting, but we do have one resolution to present to full board, which is to legalize these oversized garbage containers in front of 520 West End Avenue. They have been installed already. We've had people from the surrounding area, as well as that building, and the attorney for the person that manufactured these and put them in place. We unanimously approved this. It will also be going to Preservation Committee, but it was deemed it would go to Transportation first, which it did. And that's our one resolution for full board.
That's it. Thank you.
Sure.
BCI?
We had only one resolution this past month, which was Josh's place.
Jake's dilemma.
Jake's dilemmas, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And which was approved, although we had a lively discussion with a resident of the building who had several questions that were answered to her satisfaction. So we approved the resolution.
It turned into a very congenial experience, and Josh was wonderful explaining everything. So thank you. You have a question, Ken? Your hand is up.
A question for Max.
Oh,
on
wait,
his
it's not
presentation.
appropriate right now. Okay, thank you. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. Ken, why don't you ask your question of Max before we go forward to another committee?
Okay, Max, does that 25 number include members of the two committees? And also, can you explain again the muting policy? I didn't quite catch that.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. For right now, we're going to go with 25 all inclusive. So members of the committee and the public. And again, we're going to, be able to help individuals stream it. And we're going to have that available for everyone, the true hybrid element of it. It's my opinion that after we go through one full month cycle of it this way, we may want to then reevaluate those numbers. But I think being, 25 to start is fairly generous, and then we can kind of see how it worked out in actuality and then evaluate from there. Oh, the muting. So what's going to happen is everyone will be automatically muted when you join the meeting, and then you'll raise your hand, and when the chair or whoever is speaking calls on you, that's when you'll be sent the prompt to unclick. I tested it out part of the way through the last full board. And again, this is how a lot of community boards operate. It may not be a permanent measure, but it's what we're going to do just for a little while. But we're not, the intent is not to limit people from speaking. Everyone's still going to have the same ability to speak. It's going to be prevent people from talking over each other and, getting into it a little bit more. And that's pretty, I can send you a recording of my old community board, and you'll see how it worked, and we can go from there.
Thanks.
Okay. Andrew?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to ask about the 25-person in-person meeting. At the MTA board, they have hybrid meetings, but they require an in-person quorum. Are we going to be doing that?
Yes, that's required by the law.
Right.
Could
So
we maybe wait to discuss this when I talk about the task force? Because I think we can
Yes.
address
All right,
those
all right.
Okay.
questions during that time.
Courtney?
Just one more quick question. Since YL may be the first guinea pig, since we're a week later than we normally are, we have two guests potentially. One is a late ad, so we have to literally just today confirmed it. The question was, are we going to be on Zoom? Will we have the ability, I assume, to allow them to Zoom into the meeting rather than requiring it? We're ready to go on that, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And so we'll have them at that big screen in the office, and so
Okay.
everyone that's physically in the office, and then that will also be shared, from a streaming perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Andrew R.
Yes, I won't make a big issue of this, but I just think the automatically muted policy is something that is a function of hybrid meetings. And in reality, where we have been historically and where we're going in the future, people are in person, and you can't necessarily push a button to mute someone in person. And I think if experience has shown us everything, sometimes people will say something and someone wants the ability to respond, whether it is out of order or not. And this would give more control to restrict people's ability to respond. And I see the issue both ways. But going back to what I had said in the last meeting, if we can't get to a place where we can have civility and speak with each other and work with each other, then I don't know necessarily what we're even really doing here on the community board. So I just think both sides of this, which I'm sure you have all fully thought through, are considered. That's it.
Thank you. I think maybe trying it as an experiment for a short period of time and reassessing it might be the best way to go. I
will respect the direction. I just, sometimes play contrarian.
Okay. I think we were up to preservation. Kay and Michelle?
Yeah, Michelle is not here, I don't think. So I'll try. And Susan, you can back me up. I had to miss the meeting because of a unexpected death. But we're going to bring 4 resolutions to the full board meeting. They seem, as I've been looking at over the resolution wording, they seem to be of the order that that we've often brought before: rear yard additions, rooftop signage, AC grills.
I'm here. I'm here.
Where are you, Michelle? You look like you're in a desert someplace.
I know. That's Italy. I'm in a car on my phone with earbuds. Jerry, you should be very proud of me. It only took me a half an hour to figure this out. If you want, I'm sorry for the loss of your friend. If you want, I could do this real quick, or I could get
Go for it.
All right. So as Kay said, we had 4 applications. One was for signage at the former Haru restaurant, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. It's now called RA Sushi. One was for actually a lot of all 4 resolutions were viewed favorably, talks about at length, but we approved the signage application for 433 Amsterdam, for 36 West 85th Street. We have a long resolution because there are like several parts to it that that we approved. We approved an application for a 1-story rooftop addition. That's number 3 at 48 West 85th Street. And we approved an application for tiny air conditioning unit grills on the 16th floor of a building at 514 West End Avenue at 85th Street. There were really no issues with any of the applications. We may have added suggestions for bird proofing glass and asked the usual million questions, but I think we'll come to you with 4 really good resolutions. Any questions? Thank you.
Michelle?
All right, grazie. Yes. Grazie, Michelle.
Arrivederci.
Parks.
Thank you. Thanks, Kay.
Natasha?
Yeah, hi. We will be bringing 1 resolution to the full board as well. It is about the reconstruction of 2 step ramps at the 78th Street entrance of Riverside Park. They're in very poor condition. They're not ADA accessible. The Parks Department will also do a few other small things in that immediate area to make the visitor experience a lot better for everyone. We did not have a resolution ready at the time, but we've circulated one now. It was, in principle, it was approved unanimously, 6000 and 2000. And it's totally non-controversial, and I would be shocked if anybody has anything against it. And also, our one of our confirmed guests next week will be someone from Central Park Conservancy to give us an update on the Harlem Mere project. And we may have other items on the agenda as well.
Thank you, Natasha. How about housing? Louisa, you're here?
I had a question for.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
have two hands up, Bev.
Two hands up. We'll have to deal with that. Roberta.
Thank you. Natasha, does this mean that the 78th Street ramp can come off of our budget priorities?
Roberta, these are two stairways. I'm not sure. It's a stairway ramp. I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing. We'd have to check it out.
All right, I'll check tomorrow. Thanks.
Yeah.
Doug?
Yes, I'm sorry I wasn't able to attend Parks, but was there any update on the 74th Street non-ADA compliant entrance?
Yeah, Barbara brought that up. Barbara, you want to give an update?
Yes, I did bring it up, and I later sent a photo to them as well to show them exactly what I was talking about. John Harold maintains that there's a curb cut on the east side of 74th Street, just not on the west side. I agree with that, but I said, you know, for people who are in a wheelchair, as one of our members' moms is, that's an issue, and they said, you know, it really is a DOT issue, but they said they'd look into it. So I hope they will.
DOT, this is on the Park side, though.
I copied you on the email to them with a photo.
Okay, I'll review it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we're up to housing.
Yes, sorry about that. Okay, because of assorted holidays, we're not meeting until Monday. However, Community Board 9 has contacted us, and they would like to reauthorize the J51 tax credits program, and they would like us to be part of a borough-wide endorsement of it. So we are going to discuss J51 on Monday.
Okay. And do you anticipate there'd be a resolution?
I would think so. Yes, but we have to discuss it. I have circulated the CB9 resolution. It has to be changed slightly to accommodate us. But otherwise, I would think that we will have a resolution. Yes.
Thank you. Health and Human Services, Shelley?
Where the big issue of the night is that's going to bring people out is probably going to take 5 minutes. It's about what was the proposed Help USA shelter, which doesn't look like it's going to take place. But there are dozens of people from the community who have not been able to get answers from any elected officials or anybody. So we're having the senior vice president come to clarify that and to answer the questions. There will be 2 resolutions. One dealing with mitigating noise from sirens for the health effects of noise in particular. And I've been working on that with is he here? Ben. And with the help of Max. And it should be I think something that people will be welcoming, and we have a lot of good information already in a resolution. And then we're dealing with restrooms in the community, and Polly and William are here, so maybe one of them wants to explain.
Okay. YEL.
So we're going a little late in the month. We're going to go on Thursday. Normally we would be going, we're going to go next Thursday. Normally we're going this Thursday. We are going to be joined by the DYCD rep to talk about youth programming in the district. I don't know if Blanche wants to talk a little bit more about that, but it's just to kind of take us through what we have. And then the other piece of that is the late ad today is we're going to be joined by a member of CEC3, Naveed, who is also a parent at 145, which has gotten a lot of the asylum seeking students. He's going to be joining us to share what they've learned from that experience so that it might help us for recommendations should we get more students in our district, and also heading into our schools. So what can we learn from that, and what should we be advocating for ahead of that? So 2 kind of topics in one for us next week. I do expect resolutions or letters or both from both topics.
Got it.
I would just add to our speaker, I didn't know about the CEC one until just now, would be the director of the DYCD, who has been asked to bring us up to date on the DYCD funded programs, first of all, citywide, and then how they have affected us in our particular area, if he can do that. And to whatever extent possible, to how it has affected young people. The youth serving agencies, and we just need to know how effective. We know that the summer youth program has been apparently a good success numerically, and there are a number of other programs that are directed towards immigrant and immigrant families, and we would hope that Alexander Betancourt, who, as I said, is the director of the DYCD program, will bring us up to speed on that. I think it might be of interest to a number of committees who have an extended interest in youth serving programs. I think we were approached by William Ortiz from the safety program. So anybody who is interested is more than welcome to attend. We're happy to have you.
Thank you. Questions? Nope. Okay, last committee before we go into our task forces is budget and strategy.
Thank you. So we are finalizing our district needs and budget priorities into the city planning portal. It's due by October 31st. And then in November, somebody from the Budget and Strategy Committee will be coming to each committee to do a presentation, because this year, since we are no longer meeting in July and August, our timeline will be the end of June for all of our input, with a quick update beginning of September. This year, getting the information as late as we did was just really very time consuming and overwhelming for the committee. So we'd like each committee to schedule the first 10 or 15 minutes of their agenda for the November meeting for someone from Budget and Strategy to come and talk.
Thank you, Roberta. Questions? No. Why don't you go ahead with the senior task force as well?
Okay, the senior task force met today, and we had a very productive meeting. One of the things that we also present today was somebody from the New York Academy of Medicine, who is going to help us at either our November, December meeting. There is something called Image NYC that has layers of data from the census of where seniors live, where, you know, how much they're paying for rent, where public transportation is, et cetera. And so we're going to do a deep dive on that, because one of the things we're going to be looking at this year is where senior housing exists, where we especially need it, so we can start advocating specifically for for additional senior housing in specific parts of the district.
Thank you. Senior task force, we did in person and remote.
Hey everyone, it's Elizabeth. I don't have a lot to add other than what I know, Beverly, congratulations on your new post and looking forward to working with you on these issues and what also Max provided an update on. We did meet on October 6th. We do not have a resolution for this month. I do want to direct people, both newer and longtime members who are on this Zoom call, to refer to the resolution that we did pass back in July, which really laid out what we felt was the most, I think the procedure for both committees and full board. It was a resolution that passed the committee 8-1 and 5 to make sure that everyone had seen that and they had a chance to review it. If they do have any questions, feel free to call me. We do potentially plan to meet in November, but like Beverly said, we are waiting until we hear what the resolution is going to be from the city and the state on how we meet. And I think the final thing I would add is just for people to really take to heart what Beverly said about the default being at this point, until we hear otherwise, that it is going to be in-person meetings starting November 1st, and to follow the procedure that she has set out and that the board has set out and the committees and the committee chairs will set out on how you achieve a quorum and determine making sure you do have a quorum for your committee meetings and for the full board. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? No. Public safety. Polly, and is Will here?
Yes, right here. So our public safety task force this month is doing a joint committee meeting with HSS and Sheldon. We felt that we could be of great value of bringing in the discussion of public safety with public restrooms. So that's where we're going with this month. As Bev said, the public safety task force is working on figuring out how we're conducting our meetings in the future. I feel that right now this joint meeting would be beneficial for us to get resolutions, and we'll look forward to working with Sheldon. Polly, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to speak to what Beverly said earlier in regard to how the framework or format of the full board will be. I believe you said the public will go first. And so would we go afterwards, Beverly, the public safety task force?
I think what we would do is figure that out based on the plan that you're preparing now, right? And
Right.
whether that means that you appear as a separate portion of the meeting every month, or whether that's less frequent. It will all depend on essentially the plan that you develop. So we'll keep it, somewhat vague until we get those details nailed, and then we'll figure out the way that makes the best sense.
Okay, and then my other question is with the in-person, I know Max, you said right now it's 25, and that includes guests as well?
For now, yeah, that's correct.
Okay, I wanted to know about the seating. So will seats be separated, or will they be next door, next to each other the way they're physically set up now?
We're going to have them fairly spread out, although I see Elizabeth may want to chime in on that, but go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question to make sure that whatever is decided from the board office about this, that it get clearly communicated on the website as soon as possible, so that members of the public are not turned away if they expect to be able to come to a committee meeting in November and we reach the threshold of our 25 people and they can't come in. So that's my real question. And if we had a task force meeting before then, I would say the same thing, but I think that's hopefully something you can do. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
I have a quick. Did you recognize me? Is that okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Thanks, Beverly. I just have a quick question on the last item. It may take, I just
I don't understand in the public safety task force what the particular connection is, as William spoke, between public safety and public bathrooms. What is it you're going to be focusing on, since you highlighted those two as being important or related or something? And I wondered what that was about.
Sure. Thank you for your
big
question.
topic.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Well, there's obviously the surface of the committee, the surface topic of the committee, which is the health and human services for people just to actually run and use a restroom. Like, that's a very obvious issue. But as we all know, anything that's public right now is areas that are public places for people, whether it's the train station or the parks, and potentially restrooms can be a very dangerous place for someone to walk into at any time of the day. So that's part of the discussion we want to have. If we have the space for public restrooms for people to go to, how do we ensure they have safety and they're also safe from other type of contaminations? So that's part of the discussion, and we'd love to have you there on the meeting next week.
I can also add that this was something that another district manager that I know well had approached me about this, and this is coming from a task force of a few other district managers, and they're going around from community board to community board to have a preliminary conversation about this.
Mark?
And if I could just suggest that the conversation also embrace the flip side of what William just offered, which is that a lot of the complaints we hear are of, let's call it, inappropriate behavior in parks and sidewalks and so forth. Because there are no public facilities available for people, they are left with no alternatives but ones that are perhaps undignified both to them and anybody walking by them. So I would hope that that would be a part of the conversation as well, because you could sort of kill two birds with one stone with that conversation. Thanks.
Great. Okay, that covers our updates. There's one announcement that I didn't make and that I'd like to now, which is I attended the Borough Board meeting this morning, and Mark Levine announced that he is offering a series of trainings. I know we had expected this over the summer, but they've now started. And there will be 3 annually required trainings: conflict of interest, EEO, and anti-bias, and additional sort of electives, if you will, that'll be offered starting in November. And there'll be a second cycle of offering those opportunities probably in the spring. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up. Louise.
Okay, I was just wondering, Susan is going to become co-chair of Parks, and
Yes.
Chris YEO. Does that mean they're moving away from housing? Or are they keeping housing in there?
I think Kristen in particular would be interested in staying in housing.
Great.
I don't know. Susan, do you want to respond?
I'll talk to you separately, Louisa.
Okay.
Okay. Now we have old business. Is there old business that we need to discuss? Everyone looks blank. Oh, Louisa, do you have old business?
No.
No. Okay. And new business. Elizabeth.
Just a quick question, and it is something that I'm curious about, is whether in the new tenure you might be able, or the board might be able to circulate, and I don't want to open it up for an extended conversation tonight, just throwing it out there for a lot of people are asking when people's terms expire, whether it's as a member of the board or as a committee chair. I would like to try to figure out how we address that, both for our newer members and for our longer serving members, and just wanted to add that out there as something to your, I'm sure, very long list of things that you're dealing with as a new chair. But I think it would be really helpful for the board and for the public to know, however we want to do it, however we want to think through it. Just thought it might be something we could think about in the coming weeks. Thanks.
Yeah, that would be information that's very, very useful to me and to, I think, all of us. I think we need a little bit of time to make sure we have good data, since in our last several years of turmoil in the office and changes on our executive team, that has not been necessarily the focus of attention. So we should pull that together, and I don't guarantee a delivery date, but yes, that's certainly something important to do.
Totally, no worries. Just trying to think through, like, as we think about people, and even when we went through the elections in last month, it was like we were trying to figure out who's on the board for how long, who's staying a committee chair for how long, when is transition going to happen, that kind of thing. And I think a number of people from the public had asked me those questions, and I didn't have answers. And I think it would be good if we could publicly, just be for transparency, to have that information up on the website or something.
Absolutely.
Not urgent, not an urgent item relative to everything else that's going on, but but thank you.
Okay. Are there any other items of new business?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay. Vote, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you for a very